Hey everyone, I'm Section 8, and today I wanted to tackle the basics of getting into OpenMW modding. I figured if we are starting a channel that is dedicated to this subject, the best thing to start with, or the right foot to lead with, if you will, is going to be what's in a mod. What is a mod? How do you install them? What does that even mean? A very common question I see materialize in every subset of the OpenMW community is, how do I install a mod? People ask this question, I feel, way more often than they should because we don't have solid documentation like this. So when you walk away from this video, what I want you to understand is exactly what the shape of any given mod that you can find on the internet for OpenMW is probably going to be, and give you the ability to install them most of the time without even really getting through the install instructions. It's something we'll have to get into later on, but for now I just want to try to keep things simple and understandable for you guys. I am doing this all off the cuff, and this is my first video in about 10 years, so please forgive me. There are probably going to be some rough spots, and if I do miss anything that you feel like is important and should have been explained in this video, please leave a comment and chat me up in Discord, and maybe we'll expand on this later on. So this morning, I was hanging out in the Path of the Incarnate Discord, and I was kind of browsing around, and I installed a couple new mods. I was researching and discussing some, and that was how this idea came to me. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to install some mods. I might as well show people how this works. So the first thing that you need to understand is that OpenMW doesn't really have this conception of what is or is not a mod. There are folders that have data in them. There's just places that have stuff, okay? And then you tell it to use some of that stuff in particular. So it's just a list of folders that you know about. That's it. There's just places on your computer. So I'm going to try to show you this by walking you through how OpenMW just treats OpenMW, or Morrowind itself, rather, like a mod, right? So we can see here, I will break up my split. This is the tail end of my openmw.cfg, which is basically my mod list, okay? There's a different way that you can see this, which will be, oops. I thought I left my launcher open. Oopsie. Yeah, there it goes. So this is basically the same view that we have over here in our openmw.cfg, right? We have Morrowind.esm, Tribunal.esm, Bloodmoon.esm, Morrowind, Tribunal, Bloodmoon. Boom. But the first thing that you see in here is data equals data files. That happens over on this tab of the OpenMW launcher. And this is where all of the real magic happens, because this is where you tell OpenMW, hey, these are the different places on my computer that you're going to find mod files, right? So you can see here, mine is actually really simple. Not a lot of people do this, but this is just something that helps me to keep my layout simple. I write them in my openmw.cfg as relative paths, which is very simple, okay? Please don't let this become complicated in your head. If it's relative, that means it's relative to your openmw.cfg, okay? So here's the file. Then I've got a folder called data files in there. Do you want to take a guess what's in here? This is my Morrowind install, okay? And you can see the shape of it is exactly like what you see over here and over here as well, okay? There's Morrowind, Tribunal, Bloodmoon. I've got them organized alphabetically, so I'll show you a trick that will help you to deal with this kind of a thing. Maybe. Oh, well, okay, so I guess my file modified times are very messed up. Normally in a Morrowind.exe setup, you can sort the plugins by the last time that they were modified, and that will give you the load order implicitly in your file explorer. But yeah, OpenMW doesn't care about that. But the important thing is I have Morrowind.esm, Tribunal.esm, and Bloodmoon.esm inside of my data files folder, right? Which I've told the game about. So it knows, okay, I'm going to look over here in data files, and then I've asked it to load Morrowind, Tribunal, and Blood Moon. That's the order that it happens in, and I could remove these too if I wanted. So these files, they have a specific name, which is really useful and important to know. These are plugins, okay? And this is Todd's name. This is the original name that comes down to us on high from the, I believe that the TES CS, the original Bethesda construction set help manual, explains these are plugins. And we call them plugins because it's just the intuitive name for it. They plug things into your game. These are how things actually get put into the game, okay? So if I uncheck these and I have no game file, there's no game here anymore. There's nothing happening. If I do just more1.esm up here, now this is the only thing I'm loading, okay? But the important thing for you to understand is that your plugins, your content files, is what OpenMW likes to call them. The old school name is content files. Or the old school name is plugins, rather. OpenMW likes to refer to these as content files. I find it somewhat counterintuitive, but whatever. The other thing that you need to know is that your plugins, your content files, whatever, these are the only reason anything over here gets used. All of your meshes, your textures, everything like that, those are totally pointless if you don't have some kind of a plugin or a content file loading them, okay? So there are some mods that you can install which only append something in here, right? And I'll show you an example of that here shortly. But if you are installing a mod where you're only appending some folder in here and you don't have a content file, that's because there's a different content file that is already loading those things, right? So, for example, Caius Cosades, right? He's all our favorite old spy master crackhead. He, Morrowind.esm is what says that he exists and says that he's an old man and all of his dialogue and everything is in there and his house is in there. Whereas if you didn't have Morrowind.esm, then this is just a bunch of like pictures and noises and stuff inside of your computer, and it wouldn't really be valuable. It wouldn't be Morrowind, right? Plugins are what make the game the game. Plugins are what change it. And these are, these are the main thing that you're thinking about when you're talking about mods traditionally. But the other layer that is really important is your data directories, because this is a whole separate load order here. And I can use this as a small example and demonstrate that your default OpenMW install actually will have at least 4. If you're properly loading your Morrowind data, that is. But you have, there's one that our construction set uses. This is called data local. It's not super well used, but you can see when I hover over it here in the launcher, it actually says it. This is the data local directory and cannot be disabled. It's ordered properly, or it's ordered weirdly. But if you've ever used Mod Organizer 2, it has a mod called Overwrite at the end of your list, right? And when you run some kind of a tool plugin, like Test3 Merge, for example, for my vanilla friends, if you run some kind of a tool app, or maybe you have a OBSE or FOSE mod that will make some new files while the game is running, that's usually going to go into your overwrite folder, right? Data local is the same thing. You can't reorder it, but it does exist. So you can take advantage of that when you use our editor, or just know that it exists, to be lazy and put things over there. This is actually like one of my favorite things. Oh yeah, that does not work on my computer. But this... What? No. Oh, I can't select it. Okay, well... That would be too convenient. But you can see, like, I've got some OMW add-on files in here. These are basically just the same thing as ESP files. This is another kind of plugin. And I've got some meshes in here, too, from Greenmo. These are just loose assets that the game loads. And the cool thing about data local is that it will load them after everything else. So it's always going to override everything else in your load order. So we've gone over data directories, we've gone over content files. I feel like this has gotten fairly ranty, and I've done a little bit too much theory, and we're not really showing you guys how to install mods, right? So let's look up time multiplier. I was helping the author out of this mod out with an incompatibility they found between time multiplier and Hawkeye the other day. So I didn't install it. I just dumped open the script and found the problem. And I did really like the mod, though, so I do legitimately want to play with it. You can see this thing's got a data files folder right here, okay? So here's our data directory. We already know how to install this thing instantly. If you wanted, you could just drag this on top of your data files directory the old school way, but we're not going to do that today, okay? So I'm going to drag it out here. It's called data files. I'm going to be lazy, and we're going to call it time multiplier. Boom. I'm going to, that was Control X. I just pressed on that. That's a cut. I'm going to Control V. That's a paste. Very easy, right? So now I have time multiplier in here right after my data files directory. Let's go install this son of a bitch. Oops. Oh my. Can we not see the hidden folders? Oh, thank you. And for convenience sake, I've disabled my real setup. This is mostly just a vanilla install that I have here now. So I've added the time multiplier directory folder in the launcher. It's at my default OpenMW location. This is different for me because I'm on a Linux machine. I will link to you guys in the description where these would normally be for your computer. Most of you are going to be on Windows, so that would be Documents, My Games, OpenMW, and you'll have a setup in here that looks very similar to mine. If we go into the Content Files tab now, you'll see time multiplier.omw scripts, and boom. We just installed the mod. It happened so fast and so easily, you might not even have realized I did much of anything, but we dumped it out of the archive. We put it in the most convenient place we could. We told the engine, hey, please load stuff from this folder. And then we said, hey, please load this script mod right here. And that's it. This is the basic process that you're going to be following to install anything in OpenMW, MO2, really, even when you're modding Fallout, Skyrim, Morrowind.exe, OpenMW, for example, any of these games, all of Bethesda's games, all work the exact same way in this respect. OpenMW exposes you to these ideas in a slightly different way than you might be used to, but a lot of you have already experienced this, and you just haven't been given the opportunity, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to phrase it weirdly and sound condescending. But these are very familiar concepts to a lot of people. I just want to get that across. So we're done with time multiplier. I'm done with time multiplier. Here's Hawkeye. This is one of my mods. It's pretty cool. Hawkeye is a little weird because it doesn't come with a data directory built in, right? I'm expecting you to make one here. So I'm going to extract it and dump the whole thing out, and boom. So it comes out in this Hawkeye folder. We'll cut, paste, and now we just, Hawkeye's right there. We're going to do it again. Bloop. You see they're all in the same folder. I ship this mod as an ESP, but everything's fine. Why are we all so angry? This file needs to load after more1.esm. Sir. Well, it's broken. Okay. That's not my fault. I didn't do that. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there. I don't know what to tell you. The game won't work. It's fine. It's fine. Why does that have to happen to me? There's another one that got mentioned to me in the Path of the Incarnate Discord as well today. AMAR, a music and ambience replacer. This is actually just about the same as everything else, but now, okay, it's maybe going to get kind of confusing because we have AMAR music and ambience replacer swordsman. Inside here is a data files folder. So which one is which? What do I do? So I'll show you. I would move this around a little bit and repackage the mod personally, but I'm not going to make you do that. We can just extract it right here next to all of our other friends. We're going to go to the data directories tab, and we're going to go in here, hit data files. And the reason that we're going to do that is because this is where our music folder is. This is the data files folder. In here is the place from which the game is going to start actually looking, okay, where's music? If we started it from here, there's not going to be a folder called music in here. There are no files for us to replace or to add anything to, right? It wouldn't actually work. Whereas if you look over here in the original data files folder, you can see this music, sound, splash, textures, video, There's all this stuff in here that we can use as a reference. If you don't know what a good data folder looks like, just look at the data files folder. You always have this available to you as a perfect reference. If you don't know what's the right folder to add in the launcher, just look in data files. It will probably tell you. And that reminds me that I have little landscapes laying around in here. That's from when I was testing Green Mode. Little Landscapes Path Through the Lighthouse is a great mod by... I only forgot their name because I'm... Glitter Gear. Glitter Gear. It's a great friend of mine. I love glitter. So anyway. Here's our data files folder. Now this is just music. There's no ESP files. There's no plugins. There's no content files here. There's nothing else for me to do. This just adds music to the game. We're done. There's just the one thing. If you do this in MO2, there is a little window that will pop up, and it might say with this or some other mods that the content of your data files folder is invalid, and it's a big, scary, weird message. But it's the same process that you just did here in the OpenMW launcher at the end of the day. You would figure out which one is the data files folder. You right-click it, and in MO2, there's a little thing that says set as data files, and 90% of the time, that will get you taken care of. Be everything that you need. I'm not sure if... Yeah. Let's look at Kvetching Mananot, because this is actually it's a really good mod. I love this music. And I've been asking around, like, why does this particular one exist? This is a great Semaphore plugin. I thought that I supported all of this particular author's music in Semaphore already, but it turns out that I did not. So that's why this exists. And Yeah, you should download Cloud and Proud's Kvetching Manonaut soundtracks. They're really good. Anyway, mod plug aside, this one is a little bit more complex because it's laid out as what we call a Bane archive. I'm not going to expose you guys to the semantics of what a Bane archive is right now because there are actually a handful of different mod packaging formats, but you just want to know that this one is your favorite. That's it. Bane is pretty handy. So this mod is a unique case because it's actually got 4 data directories. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Some of them are playlists, but a lot of them actually have music. So the way I'm going to install this one is to go up, and I'm going to choose this one. The launcher is going to help me out a little bit here. Boom. Because it wants to know which I actually wish to use. Interestingly, does not auto-detect our O3 directory, fortunately. But nothing is perfect. So we know that we have 3 data directories over here, 00, 01, 02. This is just how Bane archives are laid out, man. And it's a really handy thing to know. Because if you have them laid out like this, 00, 01, 02, these are usually different options for you. 00 is typically going to be like the base thing, the default one that you're supposed to enable and install. And everything after that is going to be some kind of a patch, some kind of a flavor variant. Maybe in... You don't see this as much in OpenMW mods or Morrowind in general, but in the Oblivion scene, you'll often have mods that are like 0001 Kynes North Rimmed Sky, 01 Kynes South Rimmed Sky. So we have 2 different variants available for the 01. Maybe it's because we're shipping some different textures. Maybe it's for a bunch of different reasons. So we're going to go ahead and install all 3 of the modules, I guess, from Kvetching Manonaut because I want to check these out. And there's no content files over here. We're done. So we just installed, how many was it? 1, 2, 3, 4 mods together. And hopefully you learned something. We could explore concepts around script mods and ground cover and things like that a little bit further later. But I just kind of want to get this out there as like a quick off-the-cuff thing, expressing how to install mods. Yeah, I'm Section 8. I'll see you in the next dispatch.